So you guys, I am currently editing this video as I post it up. So this is gonna be video number one, since you got a little bit of the lore from Sam's channel because she knows a little bit more about Molly. So I'll be going through her videos, posting them up and putting in my input. So this is from her podcast right here on YouTube, explaining herself a little bit more. So let's listen to her and see what she has to say. But I will have to say though, she's a very smart cookie. She is smart, but like all of us, she has some faults. But anyways, let's listen.
It's happening! Okay. Oh my god. I'm like so nervous right now. Okay. It's so funny because I normally love the camera, but right now I'm like really nervous. Okay. So if you're here from my TikTok, welcome. And if you somehow did find me without seeing my TikToks first, also welcome. My name is Molly Rutter, and I have recently become a full-time content creator, and that's what motivated me to start this podcast, actually. And this is my first time ever recording a podcast in my life, and today I want to talk about myself and what led me to this point of being a full-time content creator and making this podcast, and then also talk about the direction I see this podcast going, and I'll also get into some juicy details about my dating life, since that seems to be what people like to hear the most from me. So let's get into it. I guess it makes sense to start out with a bit about me. So I actually have made a career out of being a teacher. So I've been in education for more than 10 years now, and I've taught in everything from preschools to daycares to summer camps to substitute teaching. And what happened was, after I graduated with my bachelor's degree in communication studies, I decided that I wanted to travel and experience the world because I had studied abroad during Ireland in my undergrad, and I definitely got the travel bug. And so when I did research on how to make money living abroad, because I had no money, I discovered that teaching was a good way to do that. And so I was like, okay, I'll teach. And then I was like, okay, I'll go to South Korea because they're going to give me the most money. I knew nothing about teaching. I honestly thought I was going to hate teaching, which is funny now looking back on it because I'm someone who's always loved school. So it actually makes a whole lot of sense why I loved teaching so much in the end. But yeah, so when I went to Korea, I fell in love with teaching because it was the most challenging and rewarding job I had ever had. And I think when you have a job that is equally as challenging as it is rewarding, that's when you have fulfillment. So it was the most fulfilling job I'd ever had. And I was also living a really high quality of life. In Korea, my studio apartment was completely funded by my school. I had free round-trip airfare. I had amazing benefits. When I finished my contract, they gave me a pension and severance that was equal to 3 months' salary. And so after that experience, I was like, Bo. Bo's like itching himself. I can hear it like the tap, 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 tap. So after that experience, I was like, I want to make a thing out of teaching. I want to actually pursue this now. So I moved back to my hometown of Buffalo, New York, and I ended up getting my master's degree in childhood education and my certification in teaching English to speakers of other languages, because working with English language learners was the way I fell in love with teaching. And so I knew that I wanted to continue to work with those types of children, and I wanted to be in those diverse classrooms of non-native English speakers. And so actually, I also had the wonderful opportunity of doing my student teaching abroad in Italy at an international school. And that even solidified. I was like, when I finish this program, I'm going abroad again to teach. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up getting a job at an international school in Istanbul, Turkey, teaching third grade English. And I ended up living there for 3.5 years. I was there from August of 2020 to January of 2024. And that was a wonderful experience in many ways, also a really challenging experience in many ways. But I can get into that in a whole different episode because that's a whole saga of its own.
You guys see what I mean? Like, she said smarty pants, but there's a little bit of a screw loose there, and I get why. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have mad respect for her as an ESL teacher. I would give her mad props for that. Highly respectful, as you can tell. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I do have an accent, but I give her mad props to that. But now she's going to go into how everything got derailed and she ended up being an influencer. Okay.
But yeah, so after Turkey, I moved back home to Buffalo, and I got a job at a private school here, teaching third grade. I ended up taking over a classroom mid-year, and that was a really wonderful experience for me, with the exception of the fact that I had built a TikTok following at that point, which was seemingly problematic to my school. And so back in like April of 2022, I think it was, I started posting on TikTok originally as a home decor account because I've always loved home design and home decor. Actually, when I was a kid, I thought I'd be a home decorator at one point. And so I started this TikTok really just sharing how I was furnishing my apartment. And what I found is that over time, more people were interested in my life abroad. And even beyond that, they were interested in just me. And so over time, I was just giving the people what they wanted. And I was showing more face on camera. And I built a lot of confidence that way. And my following just kept steadily growing. And I also got a boyfriend while I was in Turkey. We dated for a year and a half, and he lived with me. We were in love. I thought this was the man of my dreams. I thought I was going to be with him the rest of my life. I thought he was going to be the father of my children. We literally had names picked out for our first 3 children. Like, I say first 3, but there's no way I'd have more than 3. So anyways, we had named our 3 children that didn't exist yet. That's how dead set him and I both were on having a very long-term future together. But we ended up breaking up. Again, whole other saga I'll get into another time. But we broke up. I moved back to Buffalo. And, even before I moved back to Buffalo, though, my content was evolving. Because now that I was single, I was posting dating content. I was sharing about my first date experiences. And I remember what I was doing is I was bringing the camera with me on the dates. Because I'd not really seen a lot of creators do that in the dating space online. So when my date would go to the bathroom or something, I would just take the camera out and I'd be like, oh my God, he's really cute. Or, oh my God, the conversation's really weird. Or I would just give my real life responses and commentary about how the date was going. And it was really fun. It just felt like a visual diary of my dating experiences. I was honestly having a blast with it. And that content would get a lot of engagement. I think I have a date tomorrow, my first date in Buffalo. Homeboy is going to help me do my taxes. We're going to get some beer. Okay, sounds fun. And he ghosted. And so then when I moved back to Buffalo, and like I said, I'm teaching at this private school, I'm continuing to grow my TikTok, and I started to have these videos that went hella viral. And they were videos that I don't even feel like getting into right now. Honestly, that's a whole other saga too, about how these videos went viral, because I have very mixed feelings about the ones that have gone most viral, I would say. But again, I just felt like I'm doing something right. People are starting to give me a lot of attention for this, right? Maybe there's something to this. And then meanwhile, I was still being met with some criticism from my school. And that was really hard because I literally had someone send an anonymous message to my school saying that Molly Rutter dates younger men, is emotionally unstable and unfit to teach children.
And honestly, this is the part that I'm having a hard time with. I keep on flip-flopping on it. But I wish people would stop trying to mess with people's careers. And yes, I get it, they put themselves out online. But with this woman, she's still a local. From what I have seen, to me, it doesn't seem yet. I'm saying yet because I haven't found all the clips, because apparently she likes to delete. It hasn't seemed like she has done anything that egregious to warn people to actually trying to mess with her professional life. And I know there's going to be an argument here. A couple people, including myself, I flip-flop on this, but is it necessary to really, really, really poke in people's professional lives or try to mess with their professional lives? I don't know. I flip-flop, like I said. Anyways, let's continue.
And my school was concerned for me at that point. They're like, I feel like you have someone who's out to get you. I'm like, oh, it's probably not just someone. There's a whole Reddit crew full of them. And that started to really scare me because I'm like, oh my God, my livelihood is being put into question here. It's being jeopardized. And I started to...
And you guys, you see right there, that made it sound a little bit unhinged, because at this point, I know it's difficult to imagine people that didn't know a lot about the internet, but unfortunately, I do know a couple people that just choose to disconnect as more than the rest of us with the internet. So they don't always know what the heck I'm talking about. So I can get that. So my point was, can you imagine being her school principal that she worked at or whatever, and she's saying, oh no, I have all these Redditors after me and they're probably looking at her like, is she crazy? What the heck is going on here? So, yeah, this is when it gets a little bit of a slippery slope. Or can you imagine her trying to explain the situation, saying, oh, my online haters are after me. Can you imagine that? I don't know. This is when it gets a little bit slippery slope right here for me.
my school ended up reaching out to me because apparently families had seen my TikToks, and I guess other people in the community had. And I was just starting to get really confused because I would have these meetings with my school where I would talk about my social media. And in no way, shape, or form was I ever violating our school's community guidelines. I wasn't. And I would ask them straight up, I would say, have I violated our social media guidelines? And they would never give me a straight answer. And I think that's probably because they knew I wasn't. But at the same time, they did also think it was problematic that I had this very public platform while I was working at a private school where people pay a hefty dollar to go there.
Okay, so you see, at this point, this is why I get conflicted. Yeah, especially for a private school, even like any school, any profession, in a sense, even when you're offline as an employee, you kind of like represent them, also represent them. From what I've seen so far, to me, was just like she was just talking about all these dates that she went on. So I don't know. This is why I flip-flop on the whole thing, you guys. This is why I flip-flop on the whole thing. Like, I mean, I understand that point too also is do not put your personal life online. Maybe that would have never been an issue if she didn't put her personal life online.
And so, oh, I knew what I was going to say though. So my school, unfortunately, they switched my position. When it came time for contract renewals, they told me they were moving me to a middle school learning specialist role. And that's not something I have any experience in. Like I said, I'm certified to teach English language learners, which is kind of related to what a learning specialist would do. And I am certified technically to do that in grades K through 12. But up to that point, I had spent almost 5 years in the classroom as a third grade teacher. And I was starting to become really good at it. And I really loved it. And all teachers know that over time, you're developing more materials, and each year is getting easier and easier because of the confidence you have, the experience you have, the resources you've accumulated. And so I was devastated by this change. It wasn't.
So you guys, you see, this is why I'm like conflicted. She is in a private school. So yeah, those parents are paying hefty money to get their kids in a private school. But I'm back again to like, she's also at fault. Keep your freaking personal life off online, period. But yet again, I'm also of, why are you trying to destroy her her professional career? Like, it's so ridiculous. I'm conflated. You guys are gonna see this a lot. I'm gonna be flailing back and forth.
What I wanted. I was not in any way, shape, or form in the mood for a career change in education. So what ended up happening then is it sent me down a massive spiral where I started to question everything that I was doing with my life. Because here I was experiencing so much success in an online platform that was being criticized by my school. And then that same school was asking me to move to a position I didn't really want. And then on top of all of that, I was not financially surviving. As I mentioned, when I was living abroad, I had such a high quality of life. In Turkey, I did as well. My school paid for the majority of my housing. I also got free round trip airfare every year to go home. I was living in the smack dab middle of the world where I had access to travel anywhere I wanted. Like, I was living large. It was the highest quality of life I've ever had when I was living in Turkey. And then I moved back to Buffalo, and it was just struggle after struggle after struggle, to the point where I wasn't even able to afford my rent anymore.
You see, right here, this is the part that made me sad, because teachers obviously are very, very valuable people, valuable career for the future, for the kids' future. And for them to barely scrape by is not just a phenomenon where she lives at. I don't really want to delve in this conversation that much. It's a phenomenon everywhere. So she goes online and sees like, oh, wait, I'm making more money doing this online than being a teacher. I don't have to struggle anymore. And I can see why she said, screw it. I'm just going to be an online personality too. So yeah, this is the part I'm kind of like, I get what she's saying.
And what's really depressing about being a teacher is that you can literally see how much money you're going to make till the moment you retire, because they publicize their salary brackets. So based on your experience, you fall into this one bracket, and then over time it increases by a certain percentage every single year. So I literally could predict the amount of money I was going to make for the rest of my life, and it wasn't enough to live a decent quality of life. It wasn't. And that's even me just being a single person without any children. How am I ever supposed to have children if I can barely survive on my own? And then meanwhile, there's TikTok, right? There's TikTok, this platform where I can post a video that's 61 seconds and I can make thousands of dollars on it. Where could you see my incentive, my motivation was shifting? So after months of agonizing over what to do with my life, I ultimately decided to leave education and pursue social media full time. And it is probably to this day the scariest decision I've ever made. And I've done a lot of scary things. I moved across the world to Korea by myself when I'd never taught before. I've lived all around the world completely alone. And yet this was the scariest decision I've ever made. I still believe that. And it was probably the hardest decision I've ever made so far in my life. And it's because with going on social media full time, there's a lot of risk. There's risk for it not to go well. There's risk for money not to be consistent. But at the end of the day, I decided it because I don't consider it an investment in TikTok. I consider it an investment in myself. And in that, I have a lot of confidence in. I am someone who's always loved a stage. I've always loved a mic. Put me in front of a crowd. Put me in front of an audience. And I thrive. And so it does actually make a lot of sense why I like doing this. It makes a lot of sense. And it feels right. And so not only right now does this feel right, but I have the tangible facts to prove that it is right. And it's because in just 2 weeks, I've made more money than I made at my teaching job, significantly more, even including taxes I would take out.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective, really how much teachers make, huh? It's sad though. It is sad because, like I said, I see a lot of people who used to be teachers are like, no, I can't do this anymore. I am barely getting by. I have to look for a different career path because I'm not making enough. And that's actually really, really, really sad because it's an admirable career, honestly.
I've already gotten, see, this is one of the hard things about doing a podcast, but I've already heard back from a massive organization in Buffalo that wants me to be an influencer for them this year. I have started negotiating brand deals for myself. I started a Cameo. I am still doing affiliate marketing through TikTok Shop and Amazon, and the money is there. And that is so validating. And so I'm really happy. And that's why now I've been motivated to start this podcast because I feel like I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. And the topic I really want to explore today, first off, in this episode, is dating. So I've been single now for like a year and a half, ever since me and my ex broke up. And I've been on and off consistently using the apps for many years, right? And I remember the whole reason I decided to start using the apps was because I remember it was during my master's degree program. I was living in this shithole apartment where literally moldy stuff was falling down from the ceiling. Like, oh my God, you have no idea. I made this apartment look so beautiful and cozy, but at its like bare bones, it's the worst apartment I've ever lived in, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. So there I am living in that apartment, and I remember sitting on my couch just crying at how lonely I felt because I was at a phase in my life where I was ready for a partner. I was ready for a relationship, something of substance. And I knew so many people in my life that had that. And I was like, when is it my turn? I'm ready. I have so much love to give. And then it hit me. I was like, Molly, what, is Prince Charming going to fall through your window? You got to do something about it. And that's when I decided to finally take the app seriously, where I wasn't just passively swiping and having random conversations. I was like, no, I'm actually going to make dates happen.
You guys, am I the only one that's like extra leery about meeting people online? I don't know. I prefer to meet people in person and have it be generic that way, not online. I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm conflicted with this one. And I guess for me, the other part of it is like I just find it scary. Just randomly going to meet somebody you've never met before in person. I don't know. It sounds a little bit scary to me. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's go on.
And it's one of the best choices I could have made for myself at that time because it got me out of this rut. You know, like if I didn't have plans on a weekend, I was going to get on the apps and I was going to make a date happen and I was going to meet someone new and have fun regardless of what it could lead to. And I built a lot of self-confidence in doing that because it's no secret that going on a first date is really nerve-wracking. As an anxiety girly, I would feel, and I still do to this day, feel so much anxiety before I meet someone for the first time. Because you're like, oh my God, are they going to be as nice as they were via text? Are you going to be as attracted to them in person? There's just so many what ifs. It's just the unknown. The unknown is so petrifying. And the way I gained a lot of confidence was by just simply pushing through that feeling and going on the date anyways. Because I realized that no matter how the date went, even if it was terrible, just by pushing through those nerves, I was proud of myself.
I mean, How about just going out and meeting people in person? Before the pre-swiping. Just go out, meet people like people used to meet people in person and know if you want to go on a date with them. I don't know. I'm really leery about this whole dating online thing. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, no. I mean, I could not do it. I couldn't do it. Like, everybody I've dated, and the person I'm dating now, like, I've known them for years. You know what I mean? Like, I know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I've known him for years. It's a little bit of trust there. I don't know how I would feel if I'm just going to meet some rando I have never met that they could potentially lie to you over the phone. It's very easy over text to make yourself more appealing than you are. You know what I mean? If you've known or at least you met somebody in person and you hung out with them for a little bit around other people, you can decide right then and there if they're the right person for you. Just going out and meeting rando from online, I don't know, it just seems like a little bit of a scary thought for me. I don't know.
So no matter how the date went, I was always proud that I put myself out there and tried. And so that's something I try to remind myself of to this day as I'm navigating the dating world. And it's just so funny now that I've gone online and I share a lot about my dating life. People think I'm so unhinged. They think I'm so reckless. And it's hilarious to me because I don't consider myself that way. I don't know. It's so funny. I know there are people who watch my TikToks right now who are going to be thinking, yeah, right, Molly, like, come on. But I think I would classify myself as a risk taker. I do take risks, but I'm very conscious of the risks I take.
Okay, so I'm seeing where this is going. So the school probably had an issue with her putting her dating life online and the stories that she was telling about her dating life online. Okay, so yeah, I can see that. Them having issues with that. But anyways, let's continue with her.
Me being 30 minutes late to a date because I was making a bagel in my oven and I don't have a toaster and I burnt it, so I had to make another one, that people thought was insane. Or that same day, me walking 40 minutes to my date at a park. That was insane. How dare you not Uber? Or me also taking my dogs to that date. Girl, do you ever leave your dogs at home? You're insane. Or the fact that it was a hot summer day. Oh my God, you're burning your dog's paws. You dog abuser. You're insane. And I'm just like, okay, you can think that. It's just so funny to me because when I posted that video, I did not think I was being insane in any way, shape, or form. I thought it was pretty funny. Like, I think it's funny to show the reality of life and how things get messed up at times and you make mistakes and things don't always go the way you want it to. That's what I thought that video was giving. But instead, to so many people, it was giving insane. Also, my infamous tax date video, where I went on a date with a 23-year-old. He was a finance bro, and he was going to help me do my taxes. People thought that was insane. And that one, I do agree with to a certain extent. If the reality of it was that I was going to give a 23-year-old I'd never met my social security number, I would completely agree that that's insane. I would. But the fact of the matter is there's so much more nuance and detail to that story. Like the fact that when he talked about working in finance and I joked about him being a finance bro, he was like, is that a problem? Haha. And I said, of course not. And I said, actually, it's tax weekend and I'm dreading doing my taxes. I could use the help. And he's like, wait, seriously? Like, I can actually help you out. And I was like, really? And then I described to him how I was nervous about doing my taxes that year because I had this income from TikTok for the first time. And then also I had my income from Turkey that I think was going to be the first year I was going to owe taxes on it. And so I was unsure how to navigate that process. I was overwhelmed. And he's like, let me do some research for you. I'll figure out the forms you need to fill out. That was the conversation. Do you really think I was going to give my social security number to this random stranger? Anyways, that would be insane. I completely agree. That would.
Okay, yeah. I can see why people had problems with this. She does come off a little bit unhinged, doesn't she? Oh boy. But I like her. I really like her. She's bubbly. She seems like she has some great stories. Yeah, I'm liking you, Molly. I am liking you. Yeah, as a school teacher, I think, putting this kind of personal stuff out there may have not been a good idea. But also, I guess you're making more money now, so you're not struggling. So I guess it's a win-win. I don't know.
Be insane. But no, that's not what happened. What was insane is that he told me he was 5 minutes away from meeting me and completely stood me up. That's modern dating for you, friends. That is modern dating for you. So I never ended up meeting the 23-year-old tax bro. But that was a video again that people said, hey, so this is actually insane. And to this day, I get that comment on so many of my videos. So we are now going to use that. We are now going to use that in the scope of this podcast. Is that I have gotten really scared of being on the dating apps again. I just posted a video about this last night on my TikTok because the negativity I've received for my dating profile, which was completely unsolicited and something I didn't consent to, that really upset me.
Okay, in case you didn't see the previous video, introductory video on Molly, apparently people on Reddit found that she was using an older photo of her, and obviously she was a little bit thinner and a little bit younger, and they felt like she was catfishing. And what she ended up doing was she posted a video saying that she did not give consent. She felt like she was being doxxed, and she felt violated because people, how dare they go into her public dating profile and said, hey, we feel like you're actually catfishing these dudes. You're not a bad looking woman. Why not just use your current photos? This is what she's referring to at this point.
And I got really scared about putting myself back out there on the dating platforms because it's scary enough to put yourself out there to date, but just imagining that there are thousands of people judging me, that also really freaks me out. But I will say that I got back on Hinge today, people. I'm back on Hinge. And I'm swiping my life away. I actually chatted with this really cute guy today on Hinge. And turns out, though, he lives in Toronto and he doesn't have a visa to go to the US. And so I'll obviously never see him. And that is a big problem I have in Buffalo, people. I have tried to complain about this to Hinge before and I didn't see any success with it. But because Buffalo is so close to Toronto, Hinge matches you with Toronto and Buffalo people all the time. And it is so annoying.
You guys, when I heard that she lived in Buffalo, right away, I thought, I'm like, ooh, you should probably go after Keemster. You know, Kim from Local. That'd be hysterical. Can you imagine? That would be absolutely a hoot. Oh my God, that'd be so funny.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to become a Canadian citizen. Like, I would consider that marrying up. Get me out of here. But it's infuriating because there are so many cuties up there in Toronto. And I'm not giving up because you never know. Like, you might meet someone who's easily able to travel or something like that. I don't know. I'm leaving it open. But so that's like an annoying thing about Hinge, I'm not gonna lie. And I do think I'm gonna get back on Tinder. I do. I have not been on Tinder in years because I have found it to be exclusively a hookup app. But I've gotten comments from people on my TikTok who've said that they met their partner that way. And I'm like, all right, if there's partner material on Hinge, I'll seek it out. At this point, the reason I'm on the apps in general is just because I'm thinking, why not give myself one more tool to meet someone and make a connection? Don't get me wrong, we all would love to be able to just meet someone out in the wild. We all want that meet cute rom-com scenario, okay? That sounds lovely.
Yes, Molly, that's generally the route I prefer, to go into. And you guys, did you hear that TikTok is going away next year? Is that a dead set thing? Because I'm not on TikTok. I don't like TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, and I watch way too many documentaries about TikTok. Don't get me started. So yeah, no thank you. So let's say TikTok goes away. Where are all those TikTokers gonna go? Are they gonna come to YouTube? Are they gonna go to other platforms? I'm just curious about that. That'd be quite fascinating to see what people do once, if TikTok that does actually go away.
I want that for myself. But the chances of that, my boyfriend in Turkey, we met on Bumble. And I know for certain I never would have met him in real life. We lived in completely different parts of the city. We never would have crossed paths. And as a matter of fact, something I often ask guys on dates, and I did ask this of my ex too on our first date, I'll ask them, if you were to see me out somewhere, would you come up and say hi to me? And the vast majority of them say no. And they say no.
I'm gonna go into my own little tangent over here. I think the reason that I don't like dating apps, I always feel like with my luck, with my draw of the luck, I'll probably end up with a serial killer or some crazy dude like that. That's why like it terrifies me when I hear people like online trying to find somebody else online. I'm like, oh Lord, I could never, because like I said, my luck, I will end up with a serial killer. That's how I feel like.
No, because they don't want to be disrespectful. And I think that's often the case at this day and age, is that a lot of men are aware of the challenges women face in their everyday lives, being approached by men unsolicited. And so many good men don't want to be that person. So many guys have told me, I don't want to make a woman feel uncomfortable, so I'm not just going to go up to her. And I actually completely respect and understand what they're saying. Do I wish it were different? Yes. But do I completely understand that? Absolutely. And that's why I actually really try to go up to guys when I'm out. And I really want to be committed to doing that more going forward, because especially if I'm less willing to be on the apps than I once was, I really think I need to be putting myself out there in person more. And oh my God, I've seen so many cute ways of doing it. Do you think this is cringe? I think this would be really cute if a guy did this to me. But have you seen those, like, it happened around Valentine's Day. These girls had these little like Valentine cards and they were handing them out to guys that they thought were cute. Or like I've seen tattoos that girls have put on men with like their phone number on it or something. I think that's hilarious. And also, like, how cute would it be if you just had like a little bit of a business card? Like, imagine it's just like in the shape of a heart, and it says like, I thought you were cute, or some kind of like funny pun, and then it just has your name and your phone number.
Well, guys, what do you think about this idea? I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's no different. Didn't people used to write the phone numbers in a bar's bathroom or something like that? So it's just a modern variation to this, I guess. What do you guys think? I have to think about it a little bit more.
How cute is that idea? I actually love that. And part of me thinks I might start doing that, because that's way more low stakes than coming up face to face to someone and saying, oh, I think you're cute. Are you single? Can I have your number? Like, that feels really scary. But just saying hi and slipping a little note to them, is that cringe or is that cute? I think that's kind of cute. If a guy did that to me, I would love it. And so I feel like the guy who's meant to be with me would love it also. Also, I'm in this default of saying guys all the time, and I talk about dating men, but I'm actually bi, and I would love to start dating more women, but that's a whole area of my life that I'm really, really scared to start exploring, because it makes me feel like I'm a virgin again. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And also, I feel so much more vulnerable around women, because you can't hide behind any BS. Like, women see right through that. Women understand each other so well. So being around a woman, it just feels like I'm naked. And I don't mean that physically. I mean that mentally, metaphorically, emotionally. I feel naked. I feel so exposed around women because they see right through everything. And don't get me wrong, I love women. I've always been a girl's girl. My women in my life are my everything. And it makes sense why I'm attracted to women too. But that's an area of my life that I'm really scared to explore. And also, I've not had success in the dating world with women. Like, I do have all of my dating apps open for women to be on there as well. And I think I'm a pretty generous swiper. Like, I do find a good number of women that I'm attracted to on there, but then it doesn't lead to a match. And even if it does, the conversation doesn't lead anywhere. And so I just think dating women is harder. I think because women have high standards. I don't know. Sorry, it sounds like so mean to men, but I've just found the dating world with women to be very difficult to navigate. And so I would appreciate any tips on that. So here, what are the things that I have that I can talk about that are juicy? All right. Do you want to know a juicy story in Ireland? I'll tell you that. I'll tell you a juicy dating story in Ireland. So this is actually insane. Are you ready? So like I said, I studied abroad in Ireland during undergrad. I lived there for 6 months in Galway, Ireland. Best time of my life. And I went out like crazy when I was there. I lived my best life. It was the freest I have ever been. Sexually, partying wise, I was lit, okay? And I was in my early 20s, so can you blame me? And I remember one night, me and my best friend, we went to a club. And as we were leaving this club, I'm walking up the stairs, and there was this guy next to me. And we just said hello, because we were just like walking up the stairs at the same place together. And we just kept talking as we exited the club. And then I'm like, oh, he's cute. And so we continued to talk as we were walking down the streets. And next thing you know, he's pinned me up against the wall of a store, like outside on these like cobblestone roads. And we're making out. And it was good. It was a good time. And so then things escalated very quickly. And went back to his place, had a fabulous time. Okay? We don't need to get into all the details there. You can fill in the blanks. But it was a fabulous time. Okay? Okay. So then, weeks passed, right? Like, that was a wonderful memory, had a great time, whatever. So, I go out another night. So me and my best friend ended up meeting these guys who were there for a stag party, and we were having so much fun, like partying with them all night. And I was invited back to their hotel. And so I'm hanging out with this guy. We're having a blast. And one of the ways me and this guy really bonded was because he actually knew about my hometown, Tonawanda, New York. It's like a suburb of Buffalo. He knew about Tonawanda, and that was insane to me. Insane. I couldn't believe he knew Tonawanda. And then what gets even crazier is he knew about the Skajakwada. Okay, all my Buffalonians listening to this right now, can you imagine if you were in Galway, Ireland, talking to an Irish boy who knew what the Skajakwada was? For those that don't know, that is like this one area of the thruway in Buffalo. Like, what? So he just dropped the word Skajakwada on me, and I was dying. I couldn't believe he knew what that was. And I guess he had been to Buffalo before. I forgot for what. Like maybe to visit Niagara Falls. I don't remember what, but he just loved all the Native American names of places in this area, and that's what he was talking about. So we also have a fabulous night together. And then the next morning, I wake up before him, and there's this magazine on the coffee table in the hotel room, and I just pick it up to read it, you know? And I noticed there's someone familiar on the cover of this magazine. And I was like, no. So my jaw drops, okay? He's in the bathroom at this point. It says on the front cover, Galway's most eligible bachelors.
Okay, now I'm getting the full picture why maybe the school she worked for had an issue. She was talking about how one-night stands and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what she looks at, if it's a small town and people, you know, she was easy to find because she's from a small town. I don't know. So I can see why the school might had an issue with this. They're talking about your one-night stands on the interwebs. Yeah, I can see why they had an issue with this. But yeah, but I really like this Molly. I'm liking her. Just a breath of fresh air. But anyways, we're almost towards the end. Let's continue.
And there's homeboy from the stairs at the club. So I'm like frantically flipping through. I'm like, oh my God. Full spread of this man. Clothes. Like this was not an inappropriate magazine. But full spread of this man. Interview, everything. He was one of Galway's most eligible bachelors, okay? And was on the cover of this magazine. Are you for real? Are you for real? So I am losing it, okay? And the guy comes out of the bathroom and he's like, are you okay? Like, and I had to totally play it off and play it cool. I'm like, no, I like this magazine. Or I don't even know what excuse I gave. You probably thought I was nuts. How insane is that, though? And I still have this magazine to this day. I still have it. I would love to show it to you, but that's one of the things, like, issues of consent. Like, this guy doesn't have my consent. I feel kind of bad showing it. But yeah, so that's my story of the Skajakwada and how I ended up spending the night with one of Galway's most eligible bachelors. I'm flexing that story on all you people listening to this. That is a story I will flex on to the day I die, okay? And that story is actually insane. I love life, though. I love life and the twists and turns it brings you on and the things that you just never see coming. That's what keeps life fun. That's what keeps life interesting.
But yeah, you guys, that's one of our, I believe this is the first video of our podcast. I'm going to try to edit them in order. So it'll be easy, you know, to go through them and keep track. But I really like her. She is bubbly. She's a great speaker. She's a good storyteller. I am liking her. But I wish she would start uploading a lot more on YouTube. You know what I mean? I wish she would start uploading more on YouTube because I saw the last video she uploaded on her YouTube channel was 3 months ago. But anyways, you guys, that's all I got for today. And I will catch you in the next video and later.